When it comes to technology, I think what happens the most is, they're bombarded, CEOs, CFOs, just bombarded by all of these vendors with the latest, greatest tools. And a couple clients that I've worked with in particular, they have all the latest, greatest technology, but their teams were not doing such a great job setting it up, configuring it, rolling it out. So they're quite literally throwing money out the window on the greatest technology.
Welcome to Inside CTOx podcast. I'm Donna, head of membership and partnership, and today we're stepping inside the minds of some of the most innovative tech leaders out there. This isn't just a podcast, it's a place where CTO journeys come alive, where stories of struggles, breakthroughs, and growths unfold. We're here to unpack the experiences of real CTOs navigating through our CTOx accelerator and membership program. So sit back, tune in, let's get into the story. Welcome to another episode of Inside CTOx. Today we are joined by Jon Benedict, a powerhouse fractional CISO, CIO, and CTO who's helped over 24 organizations navigate cybersecurity, digital transformation, and AI strategy. From hospitals to digital health startups, Jon's leadership has driven multi-million dollar revenue growth, bulletproof compliance, and resilient operations. Since joining CTOx, he's landed his first client within the first month and is now co-leading a consortium with fellow members to transform small to mid-sized hospitals. And he's not just delivering results, he's redefining what tech leadership looks like at the edge of innovation. Welcome, Jon.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So thank you for joining us. So let's rewind a little bit back to when you first decided to go fractional. What was the move that pushed you over that edge, so to speak?
Sure. Well, what I found is there was a value proposition there for these smaller to medium-sized health systems that really needed not just a CIO, but a CISO as well as a CTO, and many of them could barely afford one. And so as I started learning about, fractional and realizing with these smaller organizations that quite often the CIO is wearing all three of those hats, it just seemed like a right time in the market and a natural fit. And it really has been a blessing to me because I love wearing all three hats.
Mm. So talk to me. We mentioned this, and I think everybody I've spoken to seems to have a different definition. So how do you define those three roles, and how do they differ from like a small to like medium-sized company to like a larger company?
Sure. So obviously your CIO is, over all information, all technology, all security, all everything. And then as you grow and you need somebody who can focus day to day on your security, you pull in your CISO. And then quite often as you grow a little bit more, so your smaller companies up to about 20 million, probably just the CIO. Once they get to 25 million and above, they start looking at buttoning up their security, adding a CISO. And then usually somewhere around that 50 million mark and above, they start going, okay, we really need a dedicated person to handle our technology strategy, because the three roles grow as the organization grows into something that just becomes way more than one person can handle.
Hmm. Now, the you had that first client in that first month. Like, it was that a CTO role, a CISO role? So, like, tell us a little bit about that role, and tell us about that journey of like signing that first client is just like it's such a buzz, right?
Absolutely. So actually, this is one that I attribute 100% to the CTOX team. I was working as a fractional CISO for the organization, and I was about to basically tell them I'm going off and doing my own thing, and I'm going to have to say goodbye and wish you guys the best. And Marisa had the idea to, pitch them on doing fractional CTO work instead of, the CISO. And when I approached them with that, they said, "Yeah, I don't think CTO, but would you consider, a fractional CIO role?" And the conversation went from there, and it just turned into be one of those where I was about to walk away from a client and turned out to just be the greatest thing that's happened.
Isn't that so funny how, like, we think we're going down one path, and then I've heard this from so many members, then something happens, it's something someone says, whether it's Lior or Marisa or even sometimes, like, another member, and it totally changes your trajectory. Like, it's
Yep,
incredible.
100%.
Yeah, so, um, what is something that you consistently find yourself educating those small to mid-size, business leaders about when it comes to technology?
When it comes to technology, I think what happens the most is, they're bombarded, CEOs, CFOs are just bombarded by all of these vendors with the latest, greatest tools. And a couple clients that I've worked with in particular, they have all the latest, greatest technology, but their teams were not doing such a great job setting it up, configuring it, rolling it out. So they're quite literally throwing money out the window on the greatest technology. you know it's almost like buying a sports car but never pulling it out of the garage, just leaving it in the driveway and washing it and waxing it. So they just get bombarded with, oh, you need an AI tool for this, you need a security tool for that, we automagically do this for you, we automagically do that for you.
Mm,
And they start going down this road of thinking they've got to buy everything, and buying a tool is going to fix it, when at
mm,
the end of the day, it's people and process with the technology, and having that really smart roadmap. With most of my clients, what I find, when you go in, you start seeing duplicate purchases. They've got tools that do the same exact
mhm.
thing, and neither of them are configured very well. And so as you start going through this, and going through the tools that CTOx team Lior's provided, they're just fantastic. It organizes you. You go through each and every technology. You When you identify exactly what it does, you start seeing very quickly, sometimes they're paying for three and four tools that largely do the same thing, and like one feature here or one feature there.
Mhm,
So yeah, they're being bombarded by salespeople all the time, trying to sell them, software, trying to sell them services. And
mhm,
what they really need is somebody to come in and help them synergize all of it into a strategy to harness your existing tech stack. And the one thing I preach the most is, we're not going to buy any new tools for 90 days. Let's figure out everything that you have. Let's figure out everything that it should be doing. Let's maximize the tech stack that you own today. Then let's
mhm.
buy new tools.
That's solid advice. Like, don't I feel you're right. You're right with the sales. Like, I've seen these sales calls and they're so convincing that this one single tool or product is just going to radically change their world and the ROI is going to be fantastic. But, a lot of the times they just don't know really what they're buying. So they need someone like you, like a technology specialist to come in and offer that advice and that support. Yeah.
100%.
So, John, when should a company bring in a CTO?
In my view, as early as they can, especially if you're open to the fractional market. And the reason I say that is, you know, you get all the expertise of people like myself. You get our 20, 25 years of experience at a fraction of the price, right? Hence the word fractional. So you don't have that 250 plus a year salary and benefits and everything else, and you can flex people in and out. And what's really good about fractional CTOs is we will also flex in expertise, kind of like the consortium I'm leading. We've got three of us in there, and each of us have different specialties. And so one of them's really good with technology. I'm really good with security, and not to say that I'm not good with the others, but we leverage the expertise of one another, and we flex in and out to bring 30, 40, 50 years of experience in, you know, at way less than you're paying for a full-time resource. And, you know, the reason I say this is 15, 20 years ago, technology was, something we lived with. Now, every single business, even landscapers that run their business off of their smartphones, every single business is dependent upon some sort of email, some sort of document repository,
Mhm.
and billing and all kinds of software as a service that's out there. So getting your arms around the technology as early as possible will save you so much aggravation and security remediations and exposures down the road.
Absolutely. I think there's sometimes we think of CTOs as only being in software companies or only being in like technical um companies. But one thing Lior likes to talk about, like the CTO at Google is very different to a CTO at a landscaping company or something like that. It's a very different level of CTO. So tell us like when we look at those smaller CTOs, smaller companies, what are things that CTOs can bring to those smaller companies? So particularly for those CTOs that are thinking, maybe I've only had the CTO role for a little bit, or maybe I've led a lot of teams. Yes, I can't be the CTO at Google, but what can I bring to those smaller companies?
Sure, and I'll use the example of my industry, healthcare. So I specialize in working with smaller community hospitals, critical access hospitals, 250 beds or less. And where I see the greatest opportunity there, every hospital has an electronic health record system. All of those health record systems have to promote interoperability. And that alone, just the technology of making sure you've got a health information exchange and a patient portal, and e-prescribe, all of those things alone are just beyond what one person can handle. And so getting somebody in to make sure that all of your systems are running, they're integrating, they're up, because healthcare is different than any other organization. In banking, you can go to zero trust architecture like that, and you can block anything unknown by default. In healthcare, you better not. You better make sure
Yeah.
you understand the clinical workflows, because if you don't know what it is and you're blocking something, that might be a patient in the middle of a procedure, in the OR. And so bringing in that CTO at a smaller organization, you might think you need to be, $100 million a year company, but
Mhm,
making all of those pieces work and making sure your integrations are not only functioning but secure and HIPAA compliant, those
mhm,
are all the things that we do on the smaller side of healthcare, where we bring tremendous value to just support that CIO that's in the full-time role and take that technology roadmap off of their plate, get everything in order for them, and hand it back to them.
mm. Oh, exactly. And you mentioned earlier the what we call the triple threat advantage, the the consortium of you and some other members. Tell us the story. How did that come about?
Sure. Well, two of us onboarded the same week. And, we wound up, forming a friendship there. And we met another guy who'd been here a few months ahead of us. And all three of us were in healthcare. And we all three did slightly different things in healthcare. And as I got into this first client, I started seeing, I'm like, okay, the problems that this hospital is having, every smaller hospital is having some
Mhm,
flavor of that. And from just an expertise perspective, I felt like reaching out to those other two guys and going, "Hey, I got an idea here. You're really good at this. I'm really good at that. And you really love to do this." And, I was raised, with the idea that, so it just turned out to be, three guys that all three of us have, very similar overlapping, and now we can cast a wider net because
mhm,
each of us have a slightly different niche. So we're going after all three of our niches, and we're bringing, a very standardized approach to come in, do a workshop, get them their strategic roadmap, and then make the decision between, basically advisory or, managing, and then, going forward. And so it's just been really exciting to find a group of people that think alike, have very, we've all met with very similar clients, and I'll say this, when I came to CTOx, I found myself really struggling to brand myself. I didn't know how to market myself. I know how to deliver the services. I've been doing that for 25 years. I was so completely lost in how to communicate my value to clients, other than once you get on a call and then you start talking, they go, wow, he really knows his stuff. But how do you get to that call?
mhm,
And I found the same thing in those other two guys. They're same thing. They're going, I don't know how to do this. And so what I found is that you've transformed my approach, and not just, developing a clear brand, but a compelling message, and really that systematic approach to attracting the ideal clients, building those relationships. That's the easy part,
mhm,
but what I'll say is the coaching didn't just teach me how to do all those things, really taught me how to be a more successful entrepreneur, and
mhm,
really how to look for those opportunities where, hey, if we combine together, no different than an acquisition, you buy a company to do a certain thing. Well, bring in a guy that he can do something better than I can, and having that humility to say, you know, there's somebody I know that can do this better. And if we can figure out how to work together, we
Mm.
got something. And
Th
that's what we did.
that's great. You really have the fractional dream team. Really, really is.
I believe we do.
So I think it's fantastic that you kind of put together this membership because, entrepreneurship, that's not, let's just be real about it. It can be a lonely journey. So like how important is it to have that wider like, community of people around you?
I will say that was the most valuable, unexpected benefit. Like I joined CTOx hoping to learn how to market and sell, right? That's the part I don't know how to do.
Mhm.
I was hoping to meet some really cool people, but I'll tell you the concern I had. I was really concerned that it was just going to be a dog eat dog world, and we're all just getting
Mm,
thrown in the same bowl, and we're all competing against each other and racing after the same clients. And I found that it is so polar opposite of that. None of us have the same exact niche. None of
yeah.
us. And all of us are leveraging one another. We're learning from one another. Hey, have you tried this tool? Heck, if you go down the road of AI tools, oh, you got to use Perplexity. It's the best. Oh, you got to use Claude. Oh, you got to use ChatGPT. And really going through all of those different things, and now leveraging that network of people, it's
Mm.
just been fantastic.
Yeah, it's one thing that comes up over and over again. Like this is one of the strongest communities that the people have been involved in, and it's not competitive. Everybody kind of assumes, oh, we're gonna come in, we're all gonna be fighting for the same clients, and it's just not like that. Everybody's super supportive. They're just rooting for each other. Like yeah, it's a really really positive environment.
Yeah, it is. I can't stress that enough. That was, I think, the two biggest concerns I had were, are all we going to do is bombard people on LinkedIn, and are we just getting thrown in a pool with a bunch of people that are going to be, fighting each other? Okay, throw another shark in the water. Great. It's just not like that. It's one of the most collaborative and supportive environments. And I tell people all the time, as we look at things, I'm like, look, I'm part of a group of 150 plus CTOs that I can call any of them just about any time, and I can get another opinion, and I can bring in expertise. And when you can stand in front of a client and confidently say that,
Mm.
um, it really sets us apart.
It really does. It really does. So, what does the next 12 months look like for John and his dream team?
So we're pulling together our one pagers, and we've got all of that, and we've pulled together our workshop, and we have everything ready to go, and we're going to start reaching out to clients literally this week, and start
Exciting.
trying to book calls. Yeah.
Yeah.
And leverage our own networks of other CIOs and CTOs, because almost all of us, everybody in my group, we've all been CIOs, we've all
Mhm.
been CTOs for other organizations, and we have a large network. So we're gonna reach out and see who we can help, because this problem is universal in terms of smaller hospitals have smaller budgets, but they have the same cybersecurity and technology needs. They need to have a functioning EHR. It needs to align with HIPAA. It needs to align with promoting interoperability standards. None of that changes. Even physicians groups, so a cardiology group, a radiology group with
Mm.
20, 30, 50 doctors, that's also in our area of expertise, because they have the same thing. They have to do the same things, and they have to meet the
Yeah.
same. So over the next 12 months, we're hoping to reach out and to all of our ideal clients and get a few signed up, and really start replicating the model that we've started with the client I'm working with now.
Yeah.
What in my first
Woo,
in my first
exciting.
60 days here, not
Mhm.
only have we, made a lot of progress, but we've saved them over a $500,000 in just duplicate software subscriptions, that,
Oh my
they've got
God.
multiple tools doing the same thing. And, when, we can't promise that to somebody, but I found it everywhere that I've gone, that they've got duplicate tools. They've got,
Mm.
they're overpaying for things. And when we can bring savings and align that roadmap, I think it's a powerful message, and I'm looking forward to going out there and hitting it with these guys.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Knowing the three of you guys, I have no doubt you're going to be super successful. So I'm excited to see. I'm only excited to see how successful it can be because I've no doubt that success is in your path. So thank you, Jon. Now for my special segment. You don't
Okay.
know anything about this. This is my little surprise segment at the end. We're going to do something a bit special. I'm going to
Okay.
ask ChatGPT live, right here, right now, for a thought provoking, timely question generated completely on the spot. And Jon, you got to answer it. Are you game?
Ooh. Hot seat. Love it. I
Okay.
can only fail once, so let's do it.
So let me bring up my ChatGPT and I'm going to get on the microphone. Hello,
Can I have my
ChatGPT.
chat GPT answer your chat
No,
GPT?
no, it's gonna no, this is a challenge for you, and it can only be my ChatGPT. No cheating. No cheating. Hello, ChatGPT. We love a bit of spontaneity, so we thought who better to challenge us than AI? What question would you like to ask fractional CTO Jon at this exact moment in time? Okay. It's thinking, it's thinking. Oh, must be coming up with a really good one for you.
Boy,
Okay. All right.
I should
This
write this down. Let's go. This is
this
gonna
is
be
a good
good.
this is a good one for you, Jon. So, Jon, ChatGPT would like to know, are fractional CTOs just a stopgap for companies who are too scared or too cheap to invest in a real tech leadership? Chat getting
Absolutely
sassy
not.
today.
Yeah, that I'll take that one. That's an easy one. Absolutely not. To me, I look at it as if I'm spending my money. And if I'm going to spend my money, if I can go get 3 experts or 2 experts and not have to pay full salary, full benefits, retirement, all of that stuff that you pay C-level executives, um, I'm going to do that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So, the best clients that I think are out there are the ones that once we get them delivered through the engage model, you identify their strategic roadmap, help them, drive that to completion. Then we move to, the advise model where we stay in there and we meet with them every couple of weeks and make sure that they're staying on point. And as all these new vendors come in, making sure that we're not making purchases that don't make sense. So I would say the smarter businesses are leveraging fractionals, not because they're cheap, not because they can't afford it, because why not spend your money somewhere else if you can bring in fractional expertise to do this? And there's so many of us out there that we love. I love doing the fractional part because I love working with multiple clients. I love the challenge of always fixing something or always improving something. So I would say take that money and put it into sales and marketing rather than hiring a full-time
Mm.
CT. That's just me.
Solid advice. Solid advice. So thank you, Jon. I really, really appreciate your time with us today, sharing your journey and your insights. And join us next time on Inside CTOx. The stories, experiences, and advice you hear today are incredibly valuable, not just for CTOs, but for the broader tech community and leaders. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Inside CTOx. Don't forget to follow us on social media, tag us, and share your favorite insights from the episode. We love hearing your feedback. Make sure to subscribe and check in again for our next episode, where we'll continue to explore the stories behind the tech leaders shaping the future. Until next time.